Hey guys, it's Tarot and Beyond. In today's Pick a Card reading, I had the inspiration to do a reading about what it is that your future self wants you to know about what they did to become lucky. And I know that a lot of the times luck can be associated with random chance, but if you're not new to the channel, you've probably heard me talk about how luck is correlated to alignment. And I don't go too in-depth into that usually because alignment is highly subjective, it's relative, it's context dependent, it's very individual. And so without knowing you personally and looking at your energetic signature, your soul blueprint, etc., it would be really hard to gauge what actually is alignment for you. But generally speaking, alignment is when we are through and through connected from the deepest parts of us to the highest parts of us and aligned with the goal or intention that the higher self is desiring to create or to experience or to learn. So this is kind of the basis of this reading. And all of that to say, we're going to be looking at some of the actions you may take or what your higher self wants you to know about becoming this version of you that is very lucky. So we've got the three groups to choose from today. Group number 1 is the card Believe in the Impossible, Blue Moon. Group number 2 is Be Bold and Make the First Move, Cardinal Moon. And group number 3 is Adjustments Are Required, Third Quarter Moon. If you feel called to more than one group or pile reading, whatever you want to say, feel free to use your intuition to guide you to whatever readings you're called to. Take the messages from within those readings that resonate and leave whatever doesn't. Remember that these are general readings and it's up to you to interpret. All right, guys, we'll see you in your readings. All right, hi, group number 1. Welcome to your reading. You chose the Believe in the Impossible card. This is the blue moon. So you know what they say, once in a blue moon, something happens. And the interesting thing is because, you know, that saying comes from this idea of something that very rarely happens. And when it does, it's very lucky or it's very serendipitous in nature. But interestingly enough, blue moons are predictable and it's really just 3 moons in a particular given month. So it's like it's bound to happen. So for me, I feel like your higher self wants you to know that what you think is impossible is actually something that statistically is bound to happen. It's like you can track it. It's cyclical. You can measure how much this is going to happen, even though it may feel really random, out of your control, something that you believe is completely outside of your wheelhouse of ability to achieve. So I feel like this is like systematic for you, group number 1. So let's get some information about this and what you can do to systematically do that. Look at that. You have the moon card right away. So again, this is confirming this message about it's cyclical. It's operating on a time cycle and there's growth and periods of, it's like waxing and waning. I'm also seeing Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. So it's like there's something about training or skill development. Finding a mentor could be significant to this luck that you are meant to have, because again, it's just based on time is also what I'm getting from the moon. It's based on time. It's based on these cycles. It's based on your development. I'm also seeing that there's probably periods of your life where you feel less lucky because I'm seeing the dark moon or the new moon. And it's kind of like you can't see the light of the moon. You might feel like things are more cloudy at periods of these cycles of your life, but your intuition is always guiding you from the inside out. The moon card can obscure, like the energy of the moon can obscure things, bring confusion, I'm just hearing lack of focus as well. Yes, there may be times where you feel like you're off track, but again, this is part of this very predictable cycle of development. And then there's also going to be those full moon times, which are harvest times, where you can see things more clearly. You're bringing in what it is that you've worked towards in the darker moments where you doubted or where you had fear arise. That's what the moon card can represent as well. And I see you transforming, you know, on this particular card in this deck. I don't even know what this deck is called. I got it at a Spencer's gift shop years ago, but it's the werewolf. So I feel like this is also about transformation of yourself. And it's predictable. It's on the full moon that this happens. If you are a werewolf, you have whatever, like 29 days out of the month, generally speaking, that you are a human, and then one night that you become a werewolf. So it's like you can predict this even though it seems random. And if you can predict it, then you can work with it. And then it amplifies your experience of quote unquote luck. Okay. The Seven of Wands. Am I holding the deck upside down? No, I'm not. These are both reversed for a reason. This is the Mummy, and it's got the North Node there in the corner. So the North Node talking about your destiny, talking about self-development, character development, I just heard as well. Yeah, so this is you developing your character and going through these cycles of time that if you really scaled out and looked at this big, from that bird's eye perspective or that macro level, you would see how this character development, this self-development is really something that has gone on over time. And that's why your higher self is bringing this to your attention, group number one, because you being in it right now may not see it. It's like you're wrapped up, you're bound up in it. Your eyes are covered. You don't see the long term of this, but your higher self does, because they're at the end of that journey looking back. And that's what your future self is. Your future self is your higher self. And that's not necessarily the context of this reading. The higher self is the future self in terms of like all of our condensed lifetimes and experiences at soul level, but we're more talking about your future self from this incarnation. But I kind of see both here for you, honestly. Group number one, I see both being important. So the Seven of Wands, I feel like you kind of have been tested to stand your ground. Like, are you going to take no for an answer? Are you going to take rejection or impediments to your goal as the be all end all? Or are you going to take these opportunities as they present themselves to you and create your own luck from them? Because here's another thing, statistically speaking, since this is what this reading is about, luck is actually more about your mindset than anything else. Like, they've actually done studies on this in psychology where quote unquote self-claimed or self-identified lucky people were really just people who had a belief in their own luck. So it's kind of like having this optimistic outlook or this subconscious core concept of self that allows you to then subsequently create that. So it's like the placebo effect, but in terms of your external reality. And as we know here in the spiritual community, or at least here on my channel, if you guys have heard me talk extensively in any particular reading, the inner will reflect in the outer, right? As within, so without, as above, so below, the law of attraction, the law of equals, the law of one, all of these things are universal principles. And so what you create on the inside, you will start to see on the outside. Now, what was really cool right there is that when I was saying that sentence, I glanced down at the card and I saw a spark as if this fire was actually on fire. That was really cool. So your spark has been tested, is what I'm hearing, through the dark times, right? Like, could you hold that flame? Your higher self and your future self are telling you, group one, that your luck is determined by you holding that flame, that belief of inspired, I'm hearing, inspired optimism, not necessarily uninformed optimism where you're just like blatantly rushing into things without actually having a realistic perspective, but and neither is it informed pessimism where you have experienced certain things in reality and then formed a bias about it, maybe in a negative way. I'm seeing this be the informed optimism that comes from choice. Like, this is your free will to develop that core belief of I am lucky, things work out for me, and even when they don't, I make it work. That was another thing in a psychological study that I read about, was that those who perceived themselves as lucky were actually just more adaptable and more open to whatever life threw their way. So they tended to see things through a positive lens, and therefore they got positive results. So again, it's self-fulfilling prophecy here, group number one. Five of Pentacles. Ooh, yeah, Five of Pentacles is a tough energy. This is what tests you, right? Are you going to have faith in times of lack? Are you going to turn to spirituality even like you have here in this reading, or perhaps just generally speaking in your life, to find inner solutions to outer problems? Because this is what I'm seeing here. The shaman is a deep diver into the shadow realm. It uses the awareness of the self to catalyze spiritual, personal, and physical growth. So I'm seeing you having that fire that may dwindle at times due to doubt or fear or lack of results, rekindled again and again, or continually stoked and sustained by this spiritual faith, and it is a choice. It is a choice to have that faith. It is free will for you to be able to choose how you develop your inner reality and then what that gets back in the outside. You have the 10 of Pentacles, the Minotaur here, and this is kind of like this maze. It's like he's in the labyrinth there, trying to get to the reward, like the mouse or the rat in the maze trying to get to the cheese. And in this case, since we have the 5 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles, this could even be about money, financial growth or wealth, success, legacy that you want to leave behind, a sense of stability that you're desiring in your life. And it could be anything from physical health to, longevity, prosperity, wealth in all of the definitions of that. You know, that's going to vary from person to person. For one person, wealth is physical health. For another, it's freedom. For another, it's money, or all of the above. So take it as it, as it resonates or fits for you. But I'm seeing, group number 1, that this process for you of developing yourself into this lucky person, what actually works for you is being able to trust this process and follow your intuition and not back down or give up when you're tested. And I heard trials of error and failure. Okay. So like when you come up against brick walls, your future self is telling you, don't stop. Go back, retrace your steps, reverse engineer what didn't work to learn what does, and then do that. And just keep doing that until eventually you get to the center of the labyrinth, or you get to the end of the maze, and there's your reward. So it's really just about like this tenaciousness, this unwillingness to give up, and this growth mindset, which again is like this intentional optimism, to be able to take failure and turn it into success. And every success story is built on a foundation of failure, because this is how we learn. And your higher self is telling you, group number 1, that intelligence is not based on what you know. It's based on your ability to identify what doesn't work and then adapt. And the faster you're able to do that, the more intelligent you are, the more intelligent you become. And intelligence is a developmental skill, in my opinion. It's not something that you just have. It's something that you can increase or decrease based on how you use it. We have the 2 of Cups, the unicorn in reverse. Oh yeah, like I'm hearing reciprocity, reciprocity and fluctuation. I'm seeing these 2 of Cups going up and down and up and down. So it's kind of like you've been tested through times of plenty and times of lack. You know, it's like feast or famine type of energy here. And your future self is saying, don't give up. Believe that the impossible is possible and you will achieve it. If you believe it, you will achieve it. If there is anything here to do with love or romance being part of this goal, or being maybe like a contributing factor in it, this is speaking to me of you being able to trust yourself once again, to listen to your intuition, to follow your heart, not with the uninformed optimism that we were talking about before, where we get ourselves into trouble because we're wearing those rose-colored glasses inappropriately and then ignoring red flags. But again, through informed optimism, knowing what doesn't work and being able to adapt to find what does until you eventually get it right. And it's a process of just not stopping until you get it right. 4 of Pentacles. I heard building for the future when I turned this card over, and you do have the 10 of Pentacles as well. And it may feel like this is going to take forever. And so what? So what if it does? All you've really got is time. So you may as well invest it doing something that's going to build for the future. The time is going to pass anyway. That's what your future self is saying. The time's going to pass anyway. You're going to become them no matter what. So you might as well spend it doing what actually develops you into this version of you that we're connecting to here today. The version of you that doesn't give up, that builds strategically, systematically for the future, while at the same time honoring intuition, being adaptable, overcoming these obstacles, and being able to build in a way that is sustainable, that will surely last for the long term. Okay, let's take a look at some more cards. We're going to get Oracle. We're going to get all sorts of information for you, group number 1. We're going to go really deep into detail about what this what this future self of you did to develop this luck. So can we get more information for group number 1? Higher power. Yeah. This is like you being able to trust that there is a higher power at play. That I just keep getting this message about spirituality being the guiding force. And like I said, luck is spiritual alignment. I was saying that in the intro. I've said it in like tons of other videos. Luck is spiritual alignment. And if something is not working out, it's either because it's not the time, or because there's something you still need to learn, or because there's something that's just slightly off, or potentially even largely off, that needs to be brought to your awareness, or all of the above. Like realistically, it's usually all of the above. But I'm seeing that these tweaks and changes that you're making, group number 1, are going to help you to access, like I said, this higher self version of you that has been through it all and knows what does and doesn't work. So you can tap into that and use that to believe in the impossible, because if you've already done it, you know you can do it. I've used this example before, but it's one of my favorite, and it's in the Prisoner of Azkaban. Harry Potter cast the Patronus for the first time because he, in the future, already did it. And he saw himself in the future do it without knowing it was him doing it. But he realizes last minute, oh, that was me that cast it. And then he's able to do it. So it's like this reverse causality loop where you can do it because you know you've already done it. Does that make sense? Education. Okay, so again, intelligence is not something that you are necessarily born with. I mean, there can be factors at the physical level within the brain. Yes, I'm not discounting that. Yes, that is true. Okay, so let me just kind of preface this with that. That's the caveat, is that there can be physical developmental issues or brain health, things like that. I totally get that. But the type of intelligence that I'm talking about here is more based on skill development and education, and the ability to seek out the education when you know that you're lacking some kind of a skill. This is what I mean by intelligence. It's the ability to self-identify issues. It's basically just self-awareness and the ability to reflect on what does and doesn't work in your life, be really objective and yet accountable to what doesn't work, so you can reverse engineer to find what does. And in this case, if you don't know how to do something, if something is confusing to you or feels overwhelming or out of your control, it just means that you're lacking some kind of education in that. There's something that you still haven't learned. There's a skill you haven't developed. And like a lot of things are not intuitive. The intuition is a big part of this development for you in cultivating this luck and this stability long term. But a lot of things are not intuitive. Like even really simple things that we think should be common sense are actually not, if they were never modeled in any way, shape, or form. So take, for example, I watched a video recently about this man, such a sweetheart. He created a video about how to clean. Now, generally speaking, we might think cleaning is pretty intuitive. You know, it's dirty, you clean it. No, actually, if you were never modeled that, like let's say, for example, you grew up in a home where your parents never cleaned, you never saw them clean, you lived in a pigsty, then you actually don't have those skills, not because somebody didn't teach it to you overtly, like this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, but because you were never modeled that behavior. And as humans, we tend to learn most through observation and then replication of what we see. Monkey see, monkey do. And so if you were never overtly or intrinsically taught how to do these things, then you don't know how to do it. And that's not your fault. It's not like a personality flaw or a character flaw that you don't know how to do something. So this is another thing that your higher self or that your future self are bringing into this reading group number 1, is that don't be hard on yourself when you don't know how to do something. Don't take that as a personal failing or a moral failing. No, it just means you were never taught. And guess what? The intelligence factor comes in when you can accept that and then seek out the information you need to learn. And I was getting that Mr. Miyagi energy before, from wax on, wax off. Find yourself a mentor, somebody who knows because they've done it. Somebody who can either model you that behavior just by observing them, listening to them talk, watching them live their life, studying their habits, their routines, their productivity, whatever it is that they do that you want to replicate. It's like finding something that is comparable and then learning from that, or directly going to somebody who has an implemented structure that they can straight up teach you, relay that information to you verbatim, step by step by step. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3 of what you need to do. Your higher self is trying to lead you to the information that will help you, whether it's through observation or through direct application of these lessons, and both really at the end of the day. So education, higher power, higher knowledge, listening to your intuitive spirit, because guess what? I learn a lot from spirit. Like, I'm so connected to my higher self. They teach me so much. My spirit guides, my team, spirit in general, my higher self, I learn every day from them. But they will not necessarily give me the answers. They will lead me to the information that helps me to develop that skill for myself. Because guess what is not learning? Guess what is not learning? Group number 1. It is not learning to be just given the answer. You will learn nothing if it is done for you. So the whole point of this, of you developing this luck that will help you win in life, is really you being able to learn on your own, but with the structure, the support, and the resources you need to be able to be successful at that. Even if it means failing temporarily on the path to that. Source. Oh my God, come on. Group number 1, higher power, source, the shaman. This is your resource. This is the highest education that you can acquire. And I actually jokingly write this in all of my synchronicities journals. You know what? I'll show you. Here's my synchronicities journal from last month, from April. Okay, so I had to cover it because I forgot that I have my address on there. I don't know. I just fill it out because it says that. I put my name. The school is the Universe University. I am in the University of the Universe. And my class is Spirit 303. I'm not on 101 anymore. I'm on 303. And there are prerequisites that you have to go through. So in this skill development process that you're in, group number 1, there are prerequisites that you need to learn. And a lot of the resources, the information you need can come through source. So connecting to that spiritual power is going to give you direction that will lead you to the actual real life information that you need, the resources, the skills, the people, the teachings that will help you become this version of you. Okay, let's get one of these cards. Oh, there's a few. Exploration. Hiding. Ooh, and cherish. So gratitude is a big part of this skill development, is what I'm hearing. Gratitude is a practice. It is something you can cultivate, and you have to condition yourself to be grateful. It's not necessarily something that comes inherently. It's a practice that we develop as a skill. And again, it's if you weren't taught how to do that, then you probably don't know how to do it. So you have to learn how to be grateful. And that's, again, not a character flaw. It's just about training yourself to look for the positive things. Again, this is like subconscious imprinting and conditioning that will unlock your potential for luck. So you train yourself to look at the positive, that's what you're going to see. Because the reality is just a mirror of what it is that you're operating at in terms of your software. Like, your software is the subconscious stuff that rules the conscious mind and then projects out into the reality. So if you fix the software, you're going to get better results. So something about exploration and hiding here I'm seeing is like being willing to get out, being willing to move outside your comfort zone, being willing to explore options, especially as though, from different resources, like being able to cross compare. I'm getting a message here for you, group number 1, about like, don't limit the information that can come from different resources just because it maybe doesn't feel as specific to what you're trying to do. So the example that's coming to mind is I actually watched an Alex Hermosi video this morning, and he's talking about this sort of skill development and productivity in context of business and sales. And that's not really my focus. Like, yeah, I do run my own business and I do have things that I sell, but that's not really why I'm wanting to learn from him. It's more so about like his mindset for life and how he's so driven to succeed and how he sees things and how he learns and adapts and overcomes. And that's what's really made him successful. He could have applied that to anything and he would have been successful. In his case, it just happened to be sales. So I'm seeing like, don't discount information that comes from teachers outside of your quote unquote wheelhouse. Like, explore all these different mindsets. So I'm getting like this message about being open-minded. Basically, that's what I'm getting. The more open-minded you can be, the more clarity you will receive, because you can have surprisingly accurate information that will help to educate you that may not be at all in context of what it is that you're trying to develop. So it could be something that helps you develop spiritually that is not at all of a spiritual nature. Could be something about technology, could be something about, I mean, technically speaking, I'm going to kind of butt in a little bit here to my own thought. Technically speaking, everything is spiritual. Yeah, let that kind of sink in for a second. Everything is spiritual. The good things, the bad things, all the things that cars, processed food, literally everything is spiritual. And that's a controversial statement, but that's what I realized with working with spirit, because we've created it and we're spiritual beings. And at the fundamental atomic level, everything is spirit. So the idea of spirituality being something specific is actually a cognitive bias, and that's distorted. It's not the truth. So whether something is in alignment or misalignment, that's a little bit more finite. Yeah, definitely. But I'm seeing you being able to explore and expand your mindset, really getting into these gratitude practices, doing some deep internal self-exploration and healing, shadow work, educating yourself on what that actually means, what the steps are to that. And if something feels confusing and you get stuck, group number 1, it just means there's something that you don't understand fully, and there's a way to learn that. Okay, so don't take getting stuck as a failure that you can't overcome. See that as an opportunity. Again, this is the positive mindset that creates the luck that will help you to develop the skills to grow and move forward. All right, final messages here. We're going to get a little bit of like timing reference in the nearest future. And they said, that's it. That's the only card that we're going to get for timing for you, group 1. In the nearest future, you're going to be given some kind of a foundation you can build on. What they actually just showed me clairvoyantly was like a diorama. Like, remember in school when you had to build a diorama in a shoebox? That's what they just showed me. And I have no idea how that connects or what that's a reference to. A diorama is like a small scale representation of something big. Ah, okay. Thank you, Spirit. See, they won't give me the answers. They'll give me the clues, and it's up to me to decipher, because that's how we learn. So there's something that you're going to be giving. Ooh, giving. Yeah, reciprocity with that 2 of Cups. You're going to be giving or receiving or both something that gives you a clearer view. They're giving me the word depiction. Okay, a clearer depiction of something that is going on at a macro level. And it's like you can simplify it, condense it down into something that is representative so you can see it and understand the intricacies. Does that make sense? Or perhaps you're building out a small scale version of what you want to do, and then you'll continue to tweak and evolve that. And that's what will create this luck in the long term. 10 of Pentacles, like for the rest of your life. This is like your legacy. So in the nearest future, this could be anywhere from like today, tomorrow, the next day, the next couple weeks. Feel into it for yourself, trust your intuition, but this is definitely on a very predictable cycle for you, group number 1. So pay attention to that as well. Pay attention to the rhythms of your life, how things ebb and flow, what you're being called to at particular times, and how it all connects, because they're showing me again that diorama, and I think that it represents literally being able to see something that is really like it's too big for you to see in any other context. But when you can boil it down into that smaller version, you can understand it. Yeah. So that's really what I see for you here, group number 1. I hope that this reading was helpful. I intended this reading not just to be fluffy, but really to go deep into giving you the information you need and the resources even perhaps to prompt you and to confirm to you and to give you insight into what it is that you are developing to become this higher self that is very lucky. Hashtag lucky girl syndrome, okay? Living that lucky life. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, keep learning every day, connect to source, become your higher self. You are that. As you will it, so it shall be. I love you guys so much. I hope you're enjoying the readings here on the channel. Thank you so much for your support. I see you guys liking, sharing. I see lots of new subscribers coming on, and it really is exciting to me that we're growing the community here together, expanding our knowledge base and connecting through these readings at the energy level. Thank you to those of you who support my work in the various ways that you do. Especially to those of you who are members here on the channel and or support my work financially. That really does mean a lot to me. It helps me to continue doing readings. So thank you to those who have sent in super thanks, PayPal donations, and the members here on the channel. I love you guys all equally, all of you, including those who don't do anything other than just watch the videos. I love you all equally, and we'll see you in the next readings. Bye. All right, hi group number 2. Welcome to your reading. You chose Be Bold and Make the First Move, Cardinal Moon. And so we're going to be looking at how you are developing into this lucky version of you in context of your higher self providing you this information. So really, I mean, right off the bat, we have a very direct, clear message from your future self, I should say, that is letting you know that the path to being lucky for you is going to be involved in you taking action. So this is you implementing, putting things into action based on your free will, being bold, having courage. I just heard strength as well. Yeah, having the strength to test yourself is what I'm hearing. Oh, yeah. So having the strength to move outside your comfort zone. And they're actually showing me in my mind clairvoyantly something that I learned about the other day, and I'm going to try and relay it to you from memory. Okay, so it's like we have the comfort zone, and then we have the discomfort zone where we start to get a little bit, uneasy about what it is that we're branching out of. We're doing something we've never done before. It feels scary. And then we have like the even larger zone where it's like downright panic. Like we are fully outside the comfort zone. We have completely diverged from that, and we are in no man's land, uncharted territory, and it could go horribly wrong. But that panic zone is actually where we grow the most, because we are pushing ourselves further than we have before. Now, I would not recommend, and your higher self and your future self are giving me information here, group number 2, to not do that right out the gate. It's kind of like, don't jump into the deep end if you don't know how to swim. But if you can start pushing outside that comfort zone and getting things a little bit in the uneasy territory where it feels a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not downright painful yet, it's just uncomfortable, that's where you're learning to swim. That's like you're in the shallow end, you're doggy paddling, okay? So do that first, and then once you got the hang of that, push it. And this is what I'm hearing, like push it out even further. Go into that pain zone. So if you're not doing, like if you've already tested the discomfort zone, go into the pain zone. Now, this doesn't mean do reckless things that hurt you. What this actually means is like going into things where it could be really scary for you, but you want to do it, or you need to do it to develop into this version of you that's going to be successful in life. So, it's like, the example that always comes to mind, because this is pretty universal, is like public speaking. So your comfort zone may be, I'm not speaking in public at all. And then your discomfort zone might be, I'm speaking in front of a group of 10, maybe like on Zoom or something. And then your pain zone might be, I'm speaking in front of like 100 people live. You see the difference? None of them are going to kill you, but it's the internal experience and the unease that comes from that we can kind of gauge in terms of whether it's in the comfort zone, the discomfort zone, or the pain zone. So this is kind of what I'm seeing here for you, group number 2. Your future self is like get your bearings in the discomfort zone, and then as much as you're able to, go into that pain zone, because you're going to grow exponentially. That's what they're showing me, exponential growth. So as soon as you start edging into that pain zone, you're going to see things triple, quadruple, 10x, okay? Group number 2, you're going to see it 10x and above. They're telling me there's no ceiling. Yeah, there's no ceiling to it. So the more that you push into that pain zone, once you're comfortable in the discomfort zone, you will see the results. You will double, triple, quadruple your results, because you are growing. And you don't want to look back on your life and regret the chances you didn't take. I know that's cliche, but this is what your higher self and your future self are showing me. It's like, you don't want to be on your deathbed, or even further, you don't want to be in your life review at soul level, looking back on your life in this incarnation and going, shit, there were so many things I wanted to do that I didn't do because they would have been uncomfortable or caused a lot of like internal pain, but they wouldn't have killed me. And if I would have done those things, I would have grown so much, and I would have gained so much more from this lifetime, and I would have been way further ahead in my spiritual evolution and growth. So this is what I'm seeing. Like, don't hold back, basically. Like, don't hold yourself back. Okay, sorry, that was a big intro just off one card, but this is like, I'm hoping, really tangible, practical advice that you guys can use to do this. You have the Page of Cups. Okay, the Satyr. Page of Cups. This is feeling like a little bit like comfort zone. Like, I'm hearing La La Land. Okay. Yeah, might be triggering, but this is also just like, being triggered is part of getting into the discomfort and the pain zone. So this is also relevant to the message, group number 2. Don't be in La La Land of like, everything is fine, and I'm just gonna meet my immediate needs for gratification and then not grow. Like this is kind of like a healthy self-sacrifice that your future self is showing me. It's not self-sacrifice as in martyrdom. It's more like sacrificing the things that your ego self wants right now and doing the hard things, because that is where you will get the growth. That's where the luck comes from. It's not from sitting around and just enjoying things in the now necessarily. It's testing yourself so that you can have the things that you actually really want. I'm hearing don't settle. Okay, group 2, don't settle. Your future self is very, very firm about that. They're emphasizing it really strongly. Do not settle. 9 of Wands, and keep pushing. Keep pushing and exploring your limits, exploring those boundaries and how much you can expand them over the course of your life. Because the further you push your boundaries, and let me clarify, I don't mean personal boundaries that keep you feeling safe and that help you survive. I mean like the boundaries of what you believe is possible for you. Don't let those limitations stop you. The 9 of Wands here with Pumpkinhead is like, hey, it's hard. This is like the Wounded Warrior card. It's hard. It's going to be hard. But it's like you choose your hard, you know? You can choose the hard of living a quote unquote easy life where you sit in front of the TV all day and eat chips, and then your hard becomes cardiovascular disease and lack of connection in the social field, or like in your world, or lack of success in your business, or poverty or something. Or you can choose the hard of like getting up and motivating yourself to do the things you don't really want to do, but that you know will create the life that you want, sacrificing the temporary gratification to get those long-term rewards. This is what I'm seeing here. And I'm feeling a little bit today, like in your reading group too, a bit like a motivational speaker. Okay, I just got to say, like your future self feels like a motivational speaker of some kind, or like they're coming through in this energy to motivate you to do these things that are hard, because they're saying there will be a reward. I'm hearing it's worth it. It's worth it. It will all be worth it. And you will be tested. You probably already have been. If you were drawn to this group, number 2, you've already been tested, and there will be more. Yes. But as you go, you get wiser, you get more skilled, you're able to adapt faster and overcome these obstacles. I'm seeing Bear Grylls. That's like the survivor man. And one of his things is like improvise, adapt, overcome. And that's why he's the survivor man. That's what you are, group number 2. You are the survivor. But the thing here is that when you intentionally push into that pain zone because you know it's going to help you grow, you move into thrive. You're not just surviving in terms of like the day-to-day gratification or just meeting your basic needs. You are pushing yourself to become somebody who can not only survive in any situation, but thrive. Oh, yes. The sun guard. You see, you are the phoenix that rises from the ashes of your own destruction, and it's your own intentional self-destruction, not self-sabotage, but intentionally burning anything that does not work for you or has grown stale to the ground and then being reborn from that. This is what I'm saying, group number 2. You are the survivor and you thrive in that. This takes great strength, great courage, and great personal power. This is I believe the word is grit. Yes, it's like you are a person who has grit. And grit is basically just the unwillingness to give up, no matter what. I'm hearing come what may from Moulin Rouge. Yeah, the come what may. Like, you are unwilling to give up come what may. Like, through hell and high water, over valley, under dale, you will get to your goal and you shall prevail. Yes, that was straight from spirit. You know, they rhyme when they channel sometimes. So group number 2, like this is what's going to help you get lucky. It's not luck. It's your grit. It's your determination. It's your unwillingness to give up despite the challenges or the failures or the tests or the pain. It's like you are just going to keep going and you're going to keep improving and you're going to keep getting better and your results are going to reflect that. Queen of Cups. I'm hearing impediments, okay? So another part of this for you is going to be the emotional wherewithal to keep going despite sometimes going into paralysis. Okay. Some of you are probably, or maybe even all of you, or I don't know where you're at on this journey, so I'm just going to speak generally, but we have 4 fear responses, okay? We have the hyper fear responses of fight or flight, and then we have the hypo fear responses of fawn and freeze. And Medusa here, she turns people to stone with her gaze, right? So this is reminding me of paralysis. This is the freeze response where we're so afraid that we can't take any action at all. This is where we start to see the self-sabotage of procrastination kick into effect, because really what procrastination is this emotional dysregulation that prevents us from taking action, because there's something about the task that causes that fear response. And then we go into freeze. So emotional regulation is going to be a huge part of this for you, group number 2. So learning the skills to be able to develop the inner strength to persevere through these challenges. It's like learning to be compassionate to yourself. So you're not pushing yourself past your brink. This is where the personal boundary side of things come in. It's like the stronger your personal boundaries are, the safer you're going to feel to be able to push outside the limits of the external boundaries, right? It's like internal boundaries. This is what keeps you safe internally. And that safety is then what allows you to push into that pain zone or even just into the discomfort zone. So the safer you are internally, the further you can push those external boundaries and then create that growth. Yes, 10 of Cups, confirmation. The emotional satisfaction will be palpable is actually what your future self is telling me. The emotional satisfaction from achieving not just the goals that you have or like the things you want to do or like the wins that you want to have, but this is actually like you being proud of yourself for who you've become. It's not even about what you're accomplishing, although that can be seen as an accomplishment in and of itself. But this is more so about you being proud of yourself for what you've been able to change about yourself in a loving, compassionate way, and how that catalyzed this massive growth and unlocked this luck that shows up in the form of you really trusting yourself. Like, this is what it boils down to, group number 2, you being able to trust yourself to do the hard things, to survive the hard things, to choose the hard things intentionally because they're going to help you grow, and to hold yourself accountable when you are coping coping in ways that maybe don't actually serve you and keep you in the comfort zone for maybe longer than you need to. And by the way, group number 2, some time in the comfort zone is actually healthy, right? There needs to be balance. You don't want to be constantly in the pain zone because that would be really taxing on you. Your nervous system would get dysregulated and then that would be counterproductive. So what they're actually showing me, your future self is giving me like this diagram almost. It looks like a Venn diagram or like a pie chart of some kind where it's like, okay, you want to be in the comfort zone for this period of time, right? So that you feel safe. And then you want to test that and start doggy paddling so that you can trust yourself to be able to go into the discomfort zone. And then you take that big leap of faith more and more consistently into the pain zone. And then again, it's like your comfort zone expands. The pain zone becomes your new comfort zone. They're also bringing in imposter syndrome. Okay, so group number 2, you may feel in the process of pushing out of that comfort zone as though you are an imposter. And this is something I've learned on my personal journey, and Spirit has guided me through the process of, when you notice that you feel like an imposter, because you've never done something before, because you're leveling up in a profound way, but maybe you're not fully really settled in that version of you yet, see that as a green flag that you're going in the right direction. So anytime that I level up in some way, it always feels uncomfortable. It always feels scary, and I'm always doubting myself. But I've learned to identify that as positive reinforcement rather than a sign that I'm doing something wrong. Rather than internalizing it and making it personal and then feeling shame, I associate that imposter syndrome with, oh, good. That just means I leveled up. Hey, good for you, buddy. Like, I pat myself on the back. I'm like, yeah, get it, Siobhan. You got this. Like, keep going. And then eventually that feeling of imposter syndrome goes away as I get more comfortable in the new role that I'm developing into. And my identity widens and expands to incorporate those new identities or roles or things that I'm doing. And then you get comfortable in it. So your comfort zone will start here and it will just continually grow and expand. Yeah. 8 of Pentacles. Putting in that work. Putting in that work. Group number 2. You just got to keep doing it. The 8 of Pentacles is like you just keep replicating that same pattern. Like this is the key. All right. This is your key to success. This is what's going to make your life lucky. Your future self has come in and been like, boom, boom, boom. This is what you need to do. Is it easy to do that? No. But if it feels really complicated and you're getting stuck or you're feeling like you're trapped in that comfort zone, break it down to its simplest, basest components, because sometimes we might overestimate that we know the steps to take when we actually don't. And again, I'm getting this like radical self-compassion for you, group number 2, so that you don't beat yourself up for not knowing what you don't know. Like, that's not fair. And that's just going to put you into fight or flight or freeze or fawn or whatever. It's going to dysregulate you, and that's counterproductive. So even just kind of looking at it very logically like that, that's the work. It's being able to see where you're stopping yourself, and then continuing to tweak and refine those results and replicating it until you master it, basically. Like, this is a master level life, group number 2. You did not come here to play small. You may have had other lives that were that, where you stayed on the sidelines, you didn't jump in the pool at all. That's fine. You would need those lives. On a macro scale, it's the same thing as like comfort zone, discomfort, pain body, like pain soul, pain body. Ooh, that could be significant here too. Healing your pain body so that you're not dragging this karma or trauma from the past forward into who you're developing into. But you had probably lifetimes upon lifetimes where you just played small, and that was what you were meant to do in those lifetimes. But this isn't it. Like, this is the lifetime where you significantly grow and level up. There's growth in every lifetime, but this one is where you really push the limits in a positive way, because that's what's going to lead you to success. Whew, yeah. Fork in the road. You have some big decisions to make, group number 2. You really do. And no one can make those for you, but don't let that weigh heavy on your shoulders. I just would really encourage you, and your future self is coming through strongly with this very loving, compassionate, heart-centered feeling in them. It's coming through me, and I'm like trying to relay it to you as best I can. There is a strategy to this, but like when you're making these big decisions, the easier you can go on yourself while still retaining that accountability, that is what's going to help motivate you to take these steps and to choose a direction and to put yourself outside that comfort zone, because that's where you're going to meet your potential, is what I just heard. You're going to meet your potential. And it's like you're meeting this version of you, this new version of you, and then the next one after that, and the next one after that, and the next one after that. And then you become that future self that's lucky. A change in the wind. Look, a fork in the road, a change in the wind. These are new directions. Like, do you have you developed the inner security to be able to change directions? The phoenix. Maybe it's changing jobs. You know, your comfort zone might be to stay in a line of work that is predictable and that you know. But your soul may be like pushing you, nudging you, either gently or very insistently, like shoving you off the cliff, because this is kind of like what you need to do to become somebody who's bigger than that. And that could mean quitting your job and starting a business or getting into a different line of work that feels much more aligned with you, or whatever it is. Could be anything. So I'm seeing you like choosing this for yourself. That's another thing your future self is saying, group number 2. Don't let circumstance dictate your choices. Don't let your environment dictate your choices. If the earlier you catch it and you choose to implement first, the more successful and lucky you will be. That is a big message they just brought through, and they were showing me that. They were like, don't let the environment force you into action. Like, you initiate, you will create luck that way when you, rather than reacting, you respond. Yeah, like, don't react to circumstantial things. Respond to the inner call, initiate, be bold, make that first move. That's where your luck's going to come from. Very clear message, very, very clear. Okay, we got this deck. We got 2 more decks. We're already at 20 minutes. Yeah, this is a deep dive for you, group number 2. Happiness. And look, you have the fox, and I heard sly fox. So again, it's like adaptability. You're able to improvise. You're able to adapt and overcome. You're able to feel and listen and sense. I feel like you have very heightened senses here, group number 2. And that's another reason why doing the emotional regulation work is so important to living this successful life and being lucky. Because being someone who is so highly sensitive, highly compassionate, I just heard, yeah, highly compassionate, highly empathetic, highly sensitive. And this can translate to emotions, or it can translate to like psychic level, or all of the above, both, right? It's important that you prioritize that regulation, because that's what's going to create that, like I said, security to be able to expand. So yes, focus on what makes you happy, but don't deny that long-term gratification for immediate results. Reproach. And I'm hearing don't be beyond reproach. Fears. Yep. Fears. This is what it is, right? Group number 2. You have to, oh, this card really wanted to come out. Message of love. I put the deck down and I pulled my hand away, and I almost like dropped the whole deck off because this card just like stayed with me. So we'll keep it. This is what I'm saying. Like, your future self, your higher self here, this version of you that we're talking to, that's coming through with this message, they're like a taskmaster. They're very motivational, but they're doing it in a way that's not rigid or aggressive. They motivate you through love. And so this is what you're also learning to do for yourself. Motivate yourself through love, through compassion, while remaining accountable. That's what's going to help you to face your fears and to use those feedback loops. I just heard, yeah, negative feedback loops as information to get free, to free yourself, basically. Yeah, don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And the only way that you might do that is by shaming yourself for them. I'm seeing a lot to do with like shame and fear, self-trust, courage, strength, happiness, love, compassion for yourself. Like these are the emotional, the internal things you need to have in this toolkit to be your internal toolkit to create this luck and success in your life. So it's about facing those fears head on And some of the best way to face a fear is to just do it and then get used to it, right? Like it's kind of like acclimation, or what is it called? Exposure therapy. This is kind of what I'm seeing here for you, group 2. Obviously not to reaffirm the trigger or to put yourself in a vulnerable position that would be detrimental, but like doing this wisely, intentionally, gradually, so that you acclimate and adjust and then are successful ultimately. Okay, let's, no, they said no timing for you guys. Oh, we're going to get a coffee cup for you. We didn't do that for group 1. So for group 2, final closing message from their future self on this luck. Endings and beginnings with the wheel, and I'm seeing you as the captain of the ship, group 2. Like you are in control of what happens in your life here. And this is like you being able to weather all the storms. And you know what they say, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. So you being willing to be tested and to not give up is where you will find this luck, and it will radiate out from within you. You will create this luck based on your unwillingness to give up, despite any endings or beginnings or perceived failures or adaptations of yourself. You might have to completely burn things to the ground and rebirth yourself, like from scratch over and over again in this life. Do not let that deter you. Don't see yourself as a failure because of that, okay? Like, don't identify with those things. Don't compare yourself to other people and their stories of like, they just went a linear line to success. That may be true for them. It's not for you, group 2. It's not. So what's going to be lucky and successful, what's going to create this win for you in terms of your life, is really not giving up. Like, just keep transforming, keep allowing these endings and beginnings to happen even when they're painful. I'm hearing let go. Yeah, like let go again and again and again, and keep pushing forward. And you will get there. You will get there. On the bottom of the deck, control and change. It's like the paradox of releasing control actually gives you control. Okay, so like by embracing change, you are more in control than if you try to resist it. Because again, this translates back to being reactive versus responsive. Fearing change means that you're going to be in reactive mode, and then you're going to feel like things are out of your control, and you're going to be scared, and that's going to paralyze you, and that's going to put you into unlucky patterns. Whereas if you embrace change, and instead of fearing it, you actually initiate it yourself, not only are you going to get stronger, but you're going to see luck come from that because you're taking charge through surrender. That is the key to your luck, group number 2. So I hope that this reading was helpful. I intend these readings today to be practical and useful and supportive of your development into this future version of you. So please just take what resonates and leave the rest. But if there was anything in this reading today that you got of value, please hit that like button, let me know. Share it with a friend. Maybe they need to hear some of these things as well. That's the best thing that you can do to offer to a friend or somebody that you love, is to give them tools to help them to become their best version of self. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here with me today for this reading. I appreciate your presence here and for your support of my work. I love you guys, and we'll see you in the next reading. Bye. All right, hi group number 3, welcome to your reading. You chose the card that says adjustments are required, third quarter moon. So we're talking about your future self and their recommendations or advice or support in regard to you becoming more lucky in life. And I can see from this card alone that there's going to be some adjustments that are required of you. There's some changes you need to make. I'm hearing mindset shift. Okay, yes, because luck really is a mindset. And I've said it many times before in many other readings. For me, personally, I view luck as alignment. And it's a highly subjective, it's very relative and contextual, and it's based on our soul and many different factors and whatnot. But just generally speaking, when we're more in alignment from top to bottom of ourself, from the subconscious to the higher self, and everything in between, we are better able to experience luck in our lives. Like that serendipity, those synchronous events, those just those lucky breaks that seem to happen randomly or miraculously. I'm seeing that this is possible for you, group number 3, but there are some adjustments that need to be made in terms of your approach, your mindset, and your intentions behind your actions. So for you, group 3, it's very internal. For group 2 was very different. Group 1 was different as well. So like I'm looking at the big context of these 3 readings and seeing how it's like different strokes for different folks, right? Everyone's individual and needs different things. For you, group 3, you need to have the alignment internally to see those results externally. So let's get some more information for you, my loves. You have the 8 of Swords, Pegasus. Yep, that's a mindset shift, okay? Like adjustments are required in the way that you're thinking about things. The 8 of Swords in the traditional tarot is a person standing in a circle of swords, blindfolded and tied up and feeling like, I can't get out. But really, the circle of swords is actually not even enclosed, and they could, if they just removed the loose bindings, completely walk free. It's a trap of the mind. It's mental limitation. I just heard that. Yeah, mental limitation. And I like that in this deck, which Spirit guided me to, right? I always intuitively get a yes or no on the decks that we're meant to use in the readings for very specific, usually visual purposes. And in this one, it's Pegasus flying through the clouds and there's a rainbow. It's very positive. So this is quite literally shifting your mindset from like pessimism to optimism. Now, this is not like rose-colored glasses, uninformed optimism where we stumble into life and just expect the best and then we get disappointed and we get slapped in the face with reality and that becomes pessimism. No, this is intentional optimism because you know that changes your results. I've talked about this in other readings. You may have heard me, you may not have, but this is actually a manifestation technique. It's kind of like intentional delusion, where it's like you believe something that may seem impossible for long enough, and you implement the right actions with the right intentions, the right mind and focus and determination, you will create that. Like you listen to any, it doesn't have to be about celebrities or being famous, but this is kind of the example that's coming to mind. Any celebrity that's like, people doubted me and I just didn't give up. I just knew that if I kept going, it would happen. And people laugh at them, and people that they grew up with were like, that's never going to happen. And maybe it didn't for a long time. And other people would have gotten discouraged and quit and failed, but not that person. They kept going and they got what they were meant to, what they knew that they were meant for. And this came up in a reading that I did more recently. I think it was one of the ones I did either yesterday or the day before that I posted, but there was this idea, this realization that Spirit showed me, which was like, if we looked at it in reverse, which is kind of what we're doing here, if we look at your future self having achieved or accomplished that goal, and we look at where you are now, and we say that this is like a concrete timeline that you're on, where it's not malleable, it is set in stone, and you are meant to be that, the desire to be that now, like the wish, the heartfelt dream, whatever it is, the want, whatever, it's coming from the fact that you already have it in the future. So the more you want it, the stronger it is it's solidified in your future. So if you really, really, really want something, even if it feels impossible, you may want to check out group number 1, group 3, because I'm getting like, I can't even remember consciously what the reading was about, because when I'm channeling, it's like in one ear, out the other. But their cover card keeps popping into my mind. This one, Believe in the Impossible. Yeah. It may be just that card that wanted to come out for you, group number 3, but perhaps there's more in that reading. But basically, I'm seeing like that the deeper the desire, the more it's actually achievable, because you're tuning into that future self. 6 of Pentacles. I heard equation. Okay, that's interesting. I've never gotten that from 6 of Pentacles. There's something of an equation. I'm hearing doing the math. It's like, have you found the right equation to get to the solution? It's like the solution is there. It's like mathematical. That's what they're mathematical, like from Adventure Time. But no, it's like you have the result already there, and it's just like you have to solve to find X. That's what I'm seeing here, group number 3. That's why the adjustments are required, the adjustments in your strategy, the adjustments in your perspective. Again, they're giving me the word perspective. The adjustments in the equation. Because if you're trying to cross multiply to solve for X to get the solution, you have to make sure that the other parts of the equation are correct. And I'm seeing that they're showing me like literally that cross multiplication. There's like a number here, there's X here, and then there's that. And they're showing me that underneath here, this is where the issue has been. So it's like you keep getting the wrong, the inaccurate result or the misaligned result because there's something under the surface in this one part of the equation that has been off. It's like instead of the number 12, it's the number 14. And you're like, why does it keep giving me the wrong answer? Because you need to adjust this. And what that is, to me, what I'm seeing is like it's below the line. It's the subconscious. It's like, again, mindset. Like your mindset is everything. So how do you fix that? Well, you have to first acknowledge that there's a mindset issue or error here, and you have to decondition it. And we are conditioned through patterning. We're conditioned through like things repeating. And we can decondition through repetition as well. So in this case, group number 3, it's you being able to see where the imbalance is and then solve for X by deconditioning and reconditioning the subconscious mind. You might want to start looking into subconscious reprogramming, possibly through hypnotherapy, through applied affirmations, through subliminals, through intentional actions that you're doing every day that posit or that posture around the success or like what you want to do. So like the more I'm seeing consistency being important for you, being able to do things repetitively in a positive way with an aligned intention, that is what's going to shift things for you. We have the Knight of Pentacles, the Warrior. Yeah, this is like Knight of Pentacles is very consistent. And I'm seeing that the issue has been inconsistency. And so like if you're trying to solve something that is conditioned, like conditioned pessimism or conditioned negativity that you learned, either through failures or hardships that you experienced, or because that was what was modeled to you, like maybe your parents were very negative and they were very critical or something like that. That's kind of the vibe I get, because that's how our subconscious is imprinted. And in the first 7 years of life, we are in primarily theta state of brainwaves, which means that we are just full on imprinting anything and everything that's in our surroundings. And yeah, this is kind of like it integrates, it seeps in, it becomes part of our identity. We personalize it in that way. I'm seeing you being able to like shatter that, really like shatter it, and then create this beautiful mosaic from the pieces of this clearly broken system. This is really cool. So consistency and holding yourself accountable are going to be wonderful tools and resources that will increase your luck, group number 3. And it's what has led to your future self being successful. The Lovers, succubus energy. Woo, yeah. So don't give your energy to things that drain your vitality. Like don't give your energy to those negative thoughts, because they will suck the life out of you. Again, this is an intentional choice. Those thoughts will come up unintentionally. Where the intention comes in, where the free will comes in, is how you deal with that, whether you believe it or not. They're actually showing me the movie Inception. Ooh, this is like seeded plants. Seeded plants. Seeded plants? Really? That's not what I meant to say. But it could be about implants in the mind. Seeded thoughts. Again, it's like they were conditioned into you very like environmentally, or yeah, like it's like these things just seeped into your mind. These seeds of negativity got into that deep, deep layer of the subconscious and they took root. It's up to you now, group number 3, to do some pruning, some mental pruning. And it's going to be tough, right? Because like you got to get down on your hands and knees. You got to dig in the dirt. You might get bloody hands from ripping up all these thorns and, prickly things in the subconscious mind. But when you finally get the last remaining root or seed of these thoughts out, you're going to have a beautiful garden. And then it's just maintenance. Like the hard part is really doing the deconditioning. It is hard. It takes time. It takes intention and focus. It's important that you just keep doing it even when you don't see immediate results, because it takes time to condition. It takes time to decondition. Even just the first 7 years of life, 7 years of conditioning. But that's probably not including the rest of your life too. Like it could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of conditioning that you need to undo. That's not going to be undone overnight in one subliminal recording or saying a couple of affirmations. It's tough. But your future self is saying that you've done it. And they want you to know that you've done it because they're you in the future and they've done it. So like, if that helps you reframe your mindset around this, then so be it. Like, I want that to be helpful for you. Knight of Wands. I'm hearing go-getter. It's like, have a go-getter attitude. This is the optimism is what creates luck. And that's from a psychological study that I read earlier this morning. And I remember learning about that back in university as well. I studied psychology. And optimism is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because even when things go wrong for optimistic people, they will find a way to find the good in it. And so it's not so bad. And because they find the good in it, subconscious is going to reflect that. The subconscious, it's trying to work for you. And here's something that I heard. I don't remember where I heard this, but this really stuck with me. Years ago, somebody said, oh, that's who it was. It was actually my psychotherapist. And I went to him for EMDR, which is emotion desensitization and re-regulation or something like that. I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's about re-regulating the nervous system and processing and clearing trauma. And he said to me, the brain is intelligent, but it's not smart. And I would say the same thing about the subconscious mind. It's intelligent, but it's not smart. What's the difference? Well, it's kind of like the difference between knowledge and wisdom. It's the intelligence is like having those raw resources of information. That's the knowledge. Whereas the smart refers to the ability to use that information in a way that's actually constructive or productive. So that's wisdom. It's the difference between like knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and the wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. I mean, like, maybe you like that, to each their own, whatever. But like, that's the sort of cliche, but very accurate analogy is that it's the wisdom to know the difference and to choose what to add and what not to. So I'm seeing you being very discerning about this intentional optimism, because it will help you if you do it right. The Magician, because you're a magician, group number 3. You're manifesting constantly, and this is what luck is. It is you manifesting, and your subconscious mind wants to work for you. It is constantly trying to prove what you have given it. So like if you condition it with pessimism, it's going to prove that to you, and it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this used to piss me off when my mom would say it, but she was so freaking right. If you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. And I used to get upset when she would say that. I'd be like, well, then I can't. And she's like, all right, then so be it. And she'd let me can't and fail until I finally got fed up with it. And then I'd just be like, all right, I've done that so much that I'm not getting anywhere. Let me try the can. And eventually I would get it. And she kind of like let me learn that the hard way. And I think I needed that. Like, I'm a little bit of a burn to learn kind of person, but not always. Like, I've realized I've grown from that. And I feel like I'm talking to you as you may relate to this as well, group number 3. You don't always have to be burned to learn. Sometimes you can learn through what hasn't worked in the past and extrapolating from that. You know, it's like solving to find the solution, solving to find X. You can extrapolate, you can infer, or you can, you can kind of like get information out of what you've already tried and tested and failed in, and intentionally use that to your advantage, because that's going to help you to learn faster and with less pitfalls. But I'm also hearing the word flare. Okay, that's so random. They told me flare, and they're pointing me back at the Knight of Wands again. Flair to me kind of feels like confidence, I guess. Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting from it. It's like the confidence to be able to choose optimism. Yeah, it takes confidence to be optimistic. Oh, I never thought about it that way. See, this is why I love doing readings, because when I'm channeling, I learn just as much as I teach. And if you're doing it right, that should be the case, right? Like learning and teaching, they're not separate. They're the same thing. Just two different polarities of that duality. Not for you. Not for you. Okay. See, adjustments are required because there are certain things that are not for you. There could be also an adjustment of your mindset in regard to things that you have failed at or that you've been rejected from. This is a big message that's coming through from your future self group number 3. When something does not go your way, even if it is aligned with your dream, if it's taken away from you, or if you're rejected from it, or you lose it in some way, it is not for you. And the path of least resistance here is to just surrender and accept that. That's the positive outlook. It's like, well, if that didn't work, there's a reason for that. And I must trust it, and trust is a skill. It's not something that we just have. We have to develop trust. We have to build trust. We have to surrender. We have to be able to work with ourselves enough to have the foundation of security to trust. Not only ourselves, but also the universe, manifestation, whatever it is. So I'm seeing you being able to adjust this mindset, and your future self is like, when things are not for you, we will show you by taking them away, or by removing them from your life, or by redirecting you. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not for you always. There are certain things that are not meant for you, and you might want them, but they're not actually for you, and then you will be really redirected. But I'm seeing that there's also factors here for you, group number 3, where something is not for you, but it is for you in the long run. And so they're saying, don't get discouraged by things being removed, because if something is for you, it will be for you unequivocally. It's like an eventuality. It will just happen. So this is kind of the surrender that I'm seeing here. And this is the mindset shift. It's being able to let go of the attachment to the way or to the what in regard to how things are manifesting for you. And instead focusing on your approach to what is happening from around you, and also how you are influencing that from within based on your expectations, your attachments, your beliefs, and those mindsets. Look at that. 2 cards. I didn't even mean to get those 2, but they wanted to be here. So go the distance and blessed. You will go the distance, group number 3. Again, they're bringing me back to the Knight of Pentacles, which is about consistency and going that long haul. So I'm just seeing, like, don't give up. If you refuse to give up and you have the confidence to continue to make these adjustments as required, you will get to the goal. You will see the luck work in your favor, because you're creating it yourself. I actually feel this card as well. Yeah, chop wood. That's, again, very Knight of Pentacles. They're telling me do the math again. Yeah, exactly. So chop wood is like doing the labor side of it, right? It's like sometimes if you want to have a fire, you need to go outside and chop the wood. And it might be like you just want to manifest it. You just want to see that fire spring up out of nowhere, but that's not how the 3D reality works. And in being willing to do and put in some of that labor, it's actually more satisfying when you have that fire. I'm hearing like gratitude. There's more gratitude. You feel more blessed because it didn't come quite so easily. So part of this is also like your self-development in terms of not having things handed to you. So part of it is a mindset shift, and part of it is, and that could be part of the mindset shift even, it's like seeing things as opportunities for this self-development process that will lead you to more gratitude for what it is that you're meant to have. It's like you're meant to have that, but who do you need to become to be able to really appreciate that? Children, I was saying the first 7 years of your life. So this goes back to childhood. You see, confirmation. This goes back to childhood. Group 3. So decondition those subconscious beliefs. And how do you do that? Well, there's many ways, this is not the time or place to go into all the detail of it, but to give you like a little bit of a starting point if you have no idea, or to confirm to you maybe what you're already doing or what you've been called to, the first place to start would be looking at your triggers, looking at your behaviors. Those two are going to be the areas where you will see symptomatically what you were programmed with through childhood. So anything that you fear, that makes you angry, that creates resistance, reverse engineer that. Again, do the math, solve for X, reverse engineer it, flip and invert it, because you're going to get the answer. You're going to find what that core root belief is, and then you can adjust it. The second is your behaviors. Like sometimes it doesn't show up in our emotions. Sometimes it shows up in what we are doing, or specifically with the magician, what or who we're attracting. So look for patterns. Pattern recognition is your best friend. Group number 3. Why? Because that helps you do the math. Like if you can see the patterns, like in math, you can solve and get the equation. You can use that algorithm to your benefit. And that's what the subconscious is. It's an algorithm. And let me put it that way. It's like here on YouTube or any of the social media sites. What you show interest in or what you focus on, even if it's negative and you don't like it, that's what you're going to keep getting more of. The algorithm does not discern whether you like something or not and how it makes you feel. It just focuses on, are you giving it attention? And what you focus on will grow. You know that, what is that adage that is used a lot here in the spiritual community? Where energy flows, where attention goes, energy flows. And then that's what grows. And we were talking about seeds in the mind. So like, don't water the weeds in group number 3. Discern, pull them out, do that hard work, because that chopping of wood, that labor is going to bless you with a garden of fruitful abundance. Oh, physical pain. Oh my God. Yeah, it's tough. This is tough, group 3. This is, you're up against a lot, okay? So like, give yourself a break here. And I want to acknowledge, and your future self wants to acknowledge, that this is not easy work. It's not, especially when you're dealing with like emotional stuff from childhood that may show up as like physical pain. This is a big process for you to break free from. The age of 14 could be significant. The age of 29 could also be significant. They just really popped those numbers out to me. That's how Spirit shows me something is significant. Like they zoom and highlight. So paying attention to these different points in your life, what you inadvertently learned or were conditioned by in those experiences, and then, unworking, like unravel that. And again, it's like shattering that broken system and then building one that works for you and that it's beautiful. It's the same thing. They're showing me like a tattered wool sweater that's all holy, and it doesn't catch what you want it to, or like I guess a sweater doesn't catch things, but like it doesn't keep you warm, or like a basket that has holes in it. It's being able to like unweave that or unravel and then rebuild it in a way that is secure so that you get the results that you want. This is what I'm seeing, and you may need to do some heart healing here. So again, triggers, things like that is going to be helpful. Okay, we're just going to get some from this deck to close out the reading. So for you, group number 3, what is final closing message from your future self in regard to your luck and how to be that version of you? Ooh, fatigue. I heard rest when you feel tired, but don't stop. Yeah. Rest when you feel tired, but don't stop. I see a lot here to do with consistency, not giving up, going the distance. Yeah, it's like you're running a marathon here, group number 3. So like, give yourself a break sometimes. Don't be so hard on yourself. I feel like this is also part of it. I kept getting from childhood, you may have had a very critical parent, and you may have internalized that, and it may show up as perfectionism, which really actually prevents you from any progress at all. I can tell you that as a recovering perfectionist myself. That was another thing that we worked on in those sessions with my psychotherapist, was that perfectionism and the CPTSD and all that. So it's adjustments there in the mental realm, because that's going to give you more energy and more motivation to get to you. Like this, it's not even about like a goal for you, group 3. It's like just getting back to yourself again and being in alignment with that positive version of you that truly does feel blessed and has energy. The succubus, again, I was saying, like, don't feed energy to thoughts that drain you. or actions that drain you, or behaviors or reactions that drain you. Focus on where you're fatigued. What is draining your energy? That's also going to be, I'm hearing sore spot. Yeah, that's going to be a pain point. But if you can identify it and look at it objectively and hold space for yourself there and start to make some adjustments, you will see results. Links. Yeah, it's all linked together. And links also reminds me of like the DNA chain. And this goes back to childhood and, you know, how we're raised, our environment, nurture versus nature, maybe a bit of both, right? How much of it is epigenetics, consciousness passed down from your parents, and how much of it was modeled or like a product of where you live. Did you know, I actually heard this morning in an Alex Hormozi video. Did you know that the predictor of financial success has statistically been shown to be predominantly environmental, like where you're born? Doesn't really have to do with race, age, or gender, or anything like that. It's environment. It's literally just like where you're born, your zip code, your postal code, your country. Why? Because the environment that you are, from this perspective, the nurture aspect, like the environment that you're in, the modeling that you receive, the comparison to, like, if you're surrounded by really unsuccessful people who have no motivation and who are very negative and pessimistic, you're just going to absorb that. Those are the seeds that get planted. And then, of course, that's going to be the garden you have. Does it mean the garden is broken? No. It just needs to be cleared out. Maybe you need to refertilize, sure. But the garden's not broken. Your subconscious is not broken. You are not broken. You can create the results you want, group number 3. There's just some pruning, some adjustments are required, okay? So that is what I see for you, group 3, from your higher self. I really hope that this reading was helpful. Just take what resonates and leave the rest. But I intended these readings to be really practical and actionable for you so that you can apply these in your life and actually move towards that future version of you one step at a time, you know, consistency. Go the distance, one step at a time. All right, group 3, I hope it was helpful. I love you. Thank you so much for being here on the channel. I so deeply appreciate all of the support that I get. So let me just for a moment express my gratitude to all of you who watch my readings, who like them, share them with friends and family, who comment below with loving, kind, supportive comments for me and for each other. And also to those of you who support the channel through donations or through memberships. I really love you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life. Yeah. Okay. I love you guys. We'll see you next reading. Bye.